Hi, I'm Patrick Mannion, Director of Content for EDN, and I'm here at Design West 2012, and I'm joined by Peter Clarke, Special Reporter for EETimes. And we're here to talk about some really important trends that are happening in MEMS and MEMS market in general. So Peter, we're noticing a big explosion in the use of MEMS, and can you talk about that for a few minutes, what's going on,
Sure.
why that's happening?
Sure. Well, I think the most important factor at the moment is the use of MEMS sensors in the consumer electronics market, particularly mobile devices, tablet computers, smartphones. It's driven a massive increase in the unit shipments.
Yeah. And so why is that happening then? Because I mean, we've had MEMS taking place over the last 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
It's getting better and better, right? But then suddenly it's taken off. Why?
Yeah, well, it is a gradual process whereby volumes in the industrial sector were able to drive a movement into automotive about 10 to 20 years ago.
Right.
As the volumes have increased in automotive, that in turn has managed to increase the volumes and the applicability to the consumer market. And it's really a question of just gradually the industry bootstraps itself up into the higher volumes and starts to really transform some of those consumer products in the mobile sector.
So the mobile, I guess, it's driven by maybe the iPhone was a key application that really kicked it off, and maybe the Nintendo devices, and that really started the whole.
Indeed, I mean, I think
right?
a big trend there was that Nintendo was able to transform their business path with a relatively low-cost sensor in the Wii stick, and the iPhone these days has 5 or 6 sensors in it, mainly inertial ones, but also silicon microphones, pressure sensors, and so on. And people are finding that they can do a lot of useful technical stuff on location-based services based on that kind of sensor platform.
Right. You've done a major report for EETimes on MEMS sensors. Can you talk about that for a few minutes? What were the major trends you found in that report?
Okay. Well, one of the trends was certainly this development to what is called sensor fusion, where it's possible to take the output from a number of individual sensors and you create an information flow that is greater than the sum of the parts. This could be used using inertial sensors to calibrate GPS or to give dead reckoning when you're inside a building.
Right.
It's able to use pressure sensors as an altimeter to give height in a shopping mall. And it means that the information flow that's coming from that group of sensors can be almost at a software level applicable to apps which want to make use of that positional information.
So you have many apps coming together, many sensing devices coming together
and it's not necessarily a fusion at the physical level, it's more of a data fusion for sensors that are just distributed around the equipment.
Okay, so what else came out of the EETimes Confidential?
Well, one of the other things which we have a look at in the report is the slow and gradual development of a fabless stroke foundry business model. This is where companies want to design MEMS components and take them to market without necessarily owning all of the manufacturing operation, and they're finding, and they have done for a number of years, they've found partners to work with, but what we're starting to see now is some of the big names from the IC sector are also starting to offer foundry services for MEMS. It's people like TSMC, UMC, Global Foundries and so on.
So are the foundries themselves being more open to innovating for MEMS and doing more, I guess, adopting their foundries?
I think there's two trends. That there are traditional MEMS foundries which have always traditionally been very open to process development. The approach in MEMS has always been one process for each product.
Right.
And so those traditional MEMS foundries have been trying to gradually acquire the discipline to make their customers try and use a more restricted set of MEMS processes. At the same time, we have the traditional CMOS foundries who traditionally were very strict on the discipline that they apply to their customers. And they would say that they're gradually offering more varieties, more add-on modules, and indeed they're starting to offer a few variants of MEMS process to customers.
So these are all key enabling developments. So how big a market do we expect to have in 2011, 2012?
We didn't do any original research on market size, but talking to the companies which have done that work, I mean, the general opinion is that 2011 MEMS market was about a $10 million market, and it's growing at about 15% a year CAGR. I think it grew 17% 2011 over 2010. That's a lot better than the IC market, which was pretty much flat.
Pretty flat for the year, yeah. And so given that it's such a big market, how many companies are playing in it now?
Well, I can't give you an absolute accurate answer. There's always new companies coming up, but for the purposes of this report that we prepared, we tracked about 250 companies.
Okay.
Now this includes fabless MEMS companies,
Right.
IDMs making MEMS, foundry companies, service providers, EDA, software suppliers, so on. So that's the kind of the full ecosystem is 250 plus.
So it's growing pretty rapidly, right?
Not rapidly, but it's definitely growing. I mean, it's definitely a hot area.
Who are the top 3 or 4 players right now?
Well, the top 3 or 4 were the kind of the IDMs which developed this market back in the day, back in the 80s. It's companies like TI, it's companies like ST, it's Hewlett Packard and Bosch. So those are the top 4.
Okay. Well, thanks, Peter, for your time. I appreciate it. And again, if you want to find out more about sensors and design, join us on a Wednesday, March 28th, and we can join us and find out more about it.
And if you're interested in the report, go to confidential.eetimes.com where you'll find out a lot more about it.
Good job. Thanks, Peter.
Okay,
Appreciate your time. Okay. Good job.
Pleasure.
Okay.